At this point in the cruise, I love to open up the floor to questions that you may have about. I'm just a smile and wave guy when it comes to a lot of things, but I can do my best to answer questions.
I just can't get away from a good time.
So what's the average contract time for an employee?
That's a great question. And it varies on position. For instance, the captain and the officers will do 3 months. They've recently adjusted the cruise director contracts to 4 months on, and they suggested 2 months off, but in reality that's translating to about 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. Now, as you go through the crew, 6 to 8 months on average, I think is pretty standard. Occasionally, a crew member might do 10 months, either because that's their preference for a longer contract. More time working means more money earned, right? Because we work on a contract basis. We're paid when we're on board, and when we're off, we're not paid. I'd say 6 to 8, with extremes of 3 and 10 either side. Great question, though. Thank you so much. Over here on the side.
How many employees are on the ship?
On this ship, at any given moment, we have just over 1,700. An exact figure I couldn't give you accurately, but I think it's about 1,720 to 50. But that's a lot. It's a lot of people. But then again, we have 6,400 guests. So it's about a 1 to 3 ratio. Robbie, is this a phone call? Is this an international question coming in? Okay. Have you got clean underwear on? No doubt is the question from your mother. Are they clean? Okay. Fine.
We're just curious, how much of the ship is underwater? We was trying to read those numbers on the side.
Oh yeah, I can tell you. It's the wet bits. I don't know the answer to that question, I apologize. But it's not a lot. I can't tell you like facts and stats, but I can tell you it is fascinating how little of the ship is under the water. It's to do with water displacement. Because the ship is wide, that's kind of what helps with its buoyancy. But on deck 6 in the Golden Jubilee, that's the bar just past the Blue Rolls Royce, there's a huge ship model. And it's to scale, so if you work out the portholes on the side of the ship when you were stood on the pier, you kind of had to look up to them and take a look at that model. You'd probably be able to guesstimate how much of the ship is under the water, but I couldn't actually tell you, and I apologize, I don't have that detail for you. Robbie, take an easy option. Only questions from this side. These people over here are furious right now, Rob.
What are the qualifications to work on the ship?
Well, it really depends. It depends on the role that you're applying for and at what level. All of the jobs that are available on board and in our shoreside team are posted on jobs.carnival.com. If you're looking for an entertainment-specific job, because that's a very specialist field, there's carnivalentertainment.com. On carnivalentertainment.com, if you want to be a cruise director, entertainment director, DJ, fun squad, you want to work with the kids in the youth team, all of the positions are listed on there with a full job description and application requirements are there as well. I would recommend that anybody get the highest level of education that they can. And when I say you can, I mean there's a couple of factors there, right? 1, education's expensive. 2, school isn't for everyone, but I would encourage anybody to educate themselves to the highest level they possibly can. Because if you apply for a job and you are equally matched as candidates, but you have more insight, if you've got that foundation, it's only going to support your application, right? Life experience is important, and I think there's a lot to be said for learning on the job. But if it's an entry-level position and you've got the qualification or the education behind you, it's only gonna help.
Okay, my question is, what days do you guys get off?
What day? Sorry, you moved the microphone away. What day?
What days do you guys get off? After work.
Days in the week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, on a 7-day work week we get it, the 8th day. of the week off. We don't. We work 7 days a week, back to back to back to back to back. There is an exception. The performers in the shows and the musicians get time off. The performers in the shows, the job is incredibly physical. They need to rest their singing voices and train and recover. And the musicians, I didn't know this, right? But even the brass, the horn trio, they can get a thing called lip fatigue. I know some of you wish I had lip fatigue, but they get lip fatigue because of the vibrations of the instruments that they play, that buzzing on their lips constantly. They have to rest because of the poor lips. So the performance roles, the musicians and the cast get rest days, and everybody else, we work 7 days a week, back to back to back to back to back to back for 6 to 8 months on average. It's a busy, busy time, and that kind of answers a question. And I apologize because I know you're waiting to ask one. Sometimes guests ask, "Where are all the American crew members?" And he is here. But people ask why do you not have American crew members? What does Carnival have against hiring Americans? We have nothing against hiring Americans. But the thing is, when faced with the prospects of working 7 days a week, with no weekends or public holidays, usually working through those major celebrations that you are used to spending with family, friends, and loved ones, and bearing in mind that you are taxed on your earnings, what you walk away with, well, you can find a job on land in the United States that is highly competitive, if not supersedes the prospects of working on a ship. So what's the reward? Well, the career advancement prospects, right? Often the US crew members come in, they're like, I'm going to do this entry-level position, and I'm going to work so hard that I get promoted. And also the travel prospects, getting to see the world, spending our weeks in the Caribbean isn't terrible. I mean, we've been off to Alaska, Hawaii, Australia, Singapore, Asia on our way through, across the Atlantic, the Pacific, the international date line, the equator, the Norwegian fjords, Russia and the Baltic Seas, Iceland. It's not that bad, I promise, it's okay. But there is a level of sacrifice, compromise, and in 2023, people, you know, they're living that grind, that hustle, and they're wanting to make as much money as they can, as fast as they can, with the most amount of time off. If that's you, this is not the job for you. So I hope that opens a little snapshot into time off. We get pockets of time off. So while we don't get a day off, there is time in port where if you're not scheduled, you can go out. But most of the crew tend to stay on and nap. Naps are good. Anyway, thank you.
You mentioned that they get like 2 months off of unpaid. Do you guys offer medical insurance for the crew?
That's a great question. A lot of the crew are international, and health services and healthcare around the world is varied, right? I'm from England. We have the National Health Service, so health insurance or medical in the UK is very uncommon. So it depends on where a team member's from. Robbie, as a United States citizen, has the option to buy into a healthcare program that's got a favorable rate, like company discount for medical during his breaks. Why is it just through his breaks? Well, because when we're on board and we're working and under contract, we're covered. We've got a medical center downstairs with multiple doctors and nurses, and if we have a cold or flu, they give us like Dayquil, NyQuil. If we want a flu shot, they give us a flu shot. If I broke my leg, they'd stick it back together or send me off to a shoreside facility with specialist treatment, and I could take the time to recover and then come back to work when they stuck it back on. If you were injured at work, you would get medical pay, which is of course a reduced rate depending on how long you're off for, but yes, there is sick pay, if you will, in the event of an unforeseen accident or injury. But they're fairly uncommon, thankfully. Don't want to tempt any fates, but yeah. Thank you for your question. Great questions today, by the way. I love this. Normally it's like, what's your favorite chef? Or where do you like to eat? And I don't mind those questions. If you want to know, I'll tell you. But we've got like real, like human business life questions. I love it. Hi. Just get the microphone.
Yes, what's the average pay for the crew members?
That is vast. That is vast. So the people that work in the service roles, housekeeping, restaurant, just like the service industry in the United States, their base pay is shockingly low. Shockingly low. Right? It is. I think you would be amazed, right? I can't talk specifics, but I can tell you, it's like dollars a day, right? But then the gratuity system is factored in. There's two different types of contract on board. There's a tipping agreement and a non-tipping agreement. And I know some people would say, well, they should be paid a handsome wage, and then tips were on top of that. And you know, the team that were working in entry-level positions would be earning more than the captain and the people in the show side, and they work hard, and in my opinion, they deserve every single penny they get. However, much the same like restaurants and bars on land, your base salary is low, and it's made up in gratuities. Then you move to those non-tipping agreements. Who are those people? They're like the staff on board. Myself, guest services, the team that work around the ship that aren't in service roles, the captain, the officers. We are on a pay scale that is very dependent on skill level required for the job, right? If it's a position where people have needed a specific education or training or background, the doctor, for instance, I couldn't just turn up and be like, I'll be the doctor this week. So the doctor is compensated in relation to their skill level and their background and their training. So to give you an average is really tough because it's very role specific. But I will say that nobody is here against their will or out of sufferance, right? It is a job, it's really fun, but it is a job, it comes with hard work, but if the rewards weren't adequate, then we wouldn't be here at the end of the day. I would say, and echo that sentiment though, to not overlook those people that have been looking after you throughout the cruise, because they truly depend on it, and many are supporting not just their own family, but also parents. Many of the team, especially the international crew members, are supporting their family and their parents. So look after them. Yeah. Over there in the blue.
So what's your typical day, your particular typical day like, and how many times do you have to change clothes a day?
That depends on how much I sweat, and I sweat a lot. I have 3 typical days to share with you. Today is a C day, so I tend to have another phone call, Robbie. Turn it off. You're on vacation. Oh no, he's not. Answer it. Today's a C day, so I typically have a later start, and the work will be throughout the day. So for instance, this morning I was awake around 8:15, 8 o'clock, preparing for my first activity at 10. But of course, what you see on a surface level isn't the only business that's done. So yeah, around 8:15, and I'll be working right through. I did take 3 minutes to eat 3 tacos just now. And I'll work through, I'll take a little break around 3 o'clock. I'm gonna go and get a haircut in the spa, if you wanna watch. And
I'll come watch.
don't come and watch, John. And then we've got showtime tonight into the evening program, and as you know, throughout the cruise, the evening program can sometimes run to midnight or occasionally later. So that's quite a long day. The other days are port days. When we're in the islands, those mornings are earlier. If we arrive in port at 7:15, I've got to be up at like 6:59 or 7:14. No, we've got to get ready to prepare the gangways and make sure everything's in order for you to go ashore. So I've got to get up extra early to let you know that the gangway's open and we've arrived, to remind you about getting back on the ship. But the beautiful thing is, the majority of our guests sail with us to go ashore, which means the demand for crew members to be working on the ship is reduced. So we tend to get our breaks during port days. And then we reactivate in the evening around 5 o'clock, working through till around midnight, then we go to the office. My typical day ends around 1:30, maybe even 2 a.m. And then the third day that I mentioned was the embarkation debarkation day, which this cruise, I was on the floor at 5 a.m., ready to disembark the guests that we couldn't disembark. And I worked right through and I finished the safety briefing at midnight. So I did from 5 a.m. until midnight that day. As did a lot of the crew. They worked to the very boundaries of the legal contracted hours that somebody can work in a 24-hour period. It was a big, big day. When things are running smoothly, I'll start that day at 5 a.m. We'll disembark all of our guests, usually around 9:45, 10. We take a short break for lunch and then it's go, go, go from around 3 p.m. again. So it's busy days. The average contract is about 70 hours a week. 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. However, we can work up to 14 hours in a 24-hour period. And then within that, there's technicalities there that a 24-hour period isn't like midnight till midnight, so it's a snapshot. But yeah, it's intense. It's a busy, busy life and a busy, busy job. Thank you for asking. We've got plenty of time. Let's keep going.
What is staff housing like?
Staff housing. Oh, it's brilliant. We've got condos in Miami and they bring us in on jet skis. Now, some people ask if the crew live on board, and we do. As you climb the ladder of responsibility on board, your accommodation changes. So a crew cabin is typically 2 people, on this ship anyway, 2 people sharing a bunk bed cabin with a desk, a chair, a refrigerator, TV, telephone, and storage for your clothes. That room has a shared bathroom, so the 2 people in the cabin share that bathroom. It has a shower, a toilet, a sink, and limited shelving and storage. Around the bunk beds, there's little curtains for privacy, and because you don't always work the same hours as the person that you room with, so maybe you don't want to be disturbed by the light being on and stuff like that. So shared accommodation is fairly standard. Then as you climb the ranks, middle management, then get single occupancy accommodation. The real luxury on board is a porthole. If you can get natural light, wow, you've made it. And then as you climb the ranks of seniority, then you are offered a little more space. For instance, our hotel director, chief engineer, and captain have the equivalent of what you would probably refer to as like a palace. No, well, they have multiple rooms. So they'll have like a bedroom with a double bed. They'll have a lounge area with a couch, a little office, because they are the 3 most important people on board. And then a separate bathroom, usually with a tub that doubles as a jacuzzi, depending on what they have for lunch. So yeah, and between the different classes of ship, accommodation varies. This is the newest ship we've got in the fleet that's been purposely built for Carnival. And it comes with the mod cons like USB plugs for the crew, because everything charges from USB now. So we've got USB sockets, which is great for the international team members, because as someone that doesn't come from North America, I used to have to come on a contract and bring all sorts of different adapters just so I can plug my stuff in. I hear someone trying to do an impression of me. It's okay, they've got a day to keep practicing. But all sorts of different adapters. But nowadays on these modern ships, USBs make life easy for everyone. Thank you for asking. Great question. Where's my friend doing the impression? And Robbie, give him the microphone.
You got it. AKA Mr. Lee. Junior.
Hello, Celebration family. It's going to be a beautiful day at sea today.
Where were were you at the start of the cruise? I could have had a day off. That was pretty good. Hi.
Who is going to be cruise director on Jubilee? Is it going to be Lee or Crystal?
Kendall, you mean?
Kendall, I'm sorry, Kendall.
We don't know.
Can you explain the process on how that works?
Yeah. Somebody in Miami head office decides, they pick. So the inaugural cruise director on a new ship is selected. They're appointed by Miami head office. The team get together, they look at various factors that I have no idea of because I'm not involved in it. Having been selected to be the inaugural cruise director of this ship, I can let you know that they pick up the phone and they say, "Hi, congratulations. We'd like to offer you the position as the inaugural cruise director of," insert ship name here. I don't know, maybe it's to do with the way the wind blows, or I don't know what factors go into that. And in 2023, I think the company is dedicated to diversity in all of its forms. So I think it won't be me going to Jubilee because they need a different face. Otherwise, that's hypocritical, right? We're dedicated to diversity, but we use the same 5'7" little white Englishman. Doesn't make sense. So I would assume that whoever it is has been notified already. However, the company, like any business, they like to be the people that share that information. So whoever it is probably sat on a huge secret right now. And as soon as the company lets people know, they'll be able to discuss it freely. But there's more than just Kendall that could be the cruise director of that ship. I mean, people are like, "Oh, Kendall, because she's from Texas." First thing I'd say is, no. "Oh, Kendall, because she's amazing," should be the first statement. Then people go, "Oh, Kendall, because she's female." Well, she is, but no. "Oh, Kendall, because she's amazing," right? People say that she's a front runner because she's from Texas, she's female, she represents, diversity, like I say. However, we've got great cruise directors that would do the same thing. Cookie's very popular on the horizon out of Miami. He's heading to Mardi Gras. His dates don't line up if you look at his schedule. We've got TJ Partida, I don't know if he's here right now. And TJ's a cruise director from the Vista, familiar with the Galveston crowd, also from Texas, American. Hello. He's here watching, but he's not going to be the cruise director here. What's he doing here? I don't know. He's definitely not on vacation. He's being paid, and if he's on vacation, I want to be on the same vacation. But yeah, so we've got Cookie, Kendall, TJ, Chris Williams. But Chris has said that he prefers to do shorter contracts now. But Chris brought out the sunrise. He was involved in the Mardi Gras launch while it was Mike Pack that was the inaugural cruise director. Chris supported because Mike had a baby. Don't ask me how that works. I can't share that information. But interestingly about Mike's baby, this is funny. Mike Pack, our fleet cruise director, is married to Emma Pack. That's how marriage works. She's but she used to be a cruise director with Carnival, and she brought out the Carnival Panorama before the pandemic. And following the pandemic, I returned the Panorama to service. I need to say that so you can explain the confusion here. Because people know Emma was the cruise director on that ship, and I popped up as a little English cruise director in a suit. And people came on, they're like, "Congratulations." And at the time, it was the newest, biggest ship I'd ever worked on. I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And they're like, "Oh, it's so special." And I was like, "Hang on a minute." I said, "What am I being congratulated for?" And they were like, "The baby." I was like, if that's my baby, I'm in a lot of trouble. But yeah, so having a child changes people's priorities. Emma had the baby and she's decided to step away from cruise directing. Mike became a father. He was offered the opportunity to step up and become fleet cruise director, which means he's no longer working contracts on board, but he'll go from ship to ship to ship. He gets a little more regularity in his vacation time. He can spend time with little baby Imogen and Emma at home. Chris, the Flying Scotsman, who's going to be filling in for my vacation here, he's got a baby as well, little Sienna. She's 4, and he told me, like, one day I'd love to have kids, right? And he said, Lee, it's tough leaving your family, especially when you've got kids. And Sienna's just at that age now that she's like, Daddy, I don't like it when you go away. So like little ones, they don't really understand how long you've gone for or how long you will be gone for. It's just kind of like water off a duck's back, right? But Sienna's hit that point now where she understands. She's kind of got a concept of time. So Chris said his priority now is to kind of slow things down and, you know, get a little more family time. However, the honor of being the inaugural cruise director, I don't know, would that tempt him back? I guess time will tell. I'm sure the company will be getting ready to announce who's going to be going to Jubilee soon. I'd say keep an eye on John Heald, our brand ambassador's Facebook page, because he is like the spokesperson, mouthpiece for the company, so you'll hear it there. Or alternatively, there are online sources as well. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that are speculating already. Coach Cruz in the front row. I met Brad from Coach Cruz due to one of his videos online when he was talking about who could be the cruise director of this ship.
And I didn't pick you.
And he didn't even suggest that it was going to be me. Surprise! So it could be someone, this is a fair point, it could be someone that you're not even considering at this point. Someone that is completely overlooked and they can't even say, hey, by the way, that's going to be me. I mean, I tried to in Brad's comments. I was like, hi Brad, nice video. But yeah, anyway, right, enough of grinding that act. Where we at? Where? Oh, right there, right in front of me.
My question is kind of piggybacking
Yeah.
what you already spoke about. Regarding the crew members, once they go on vacation for their 4 weeks, 6 weeks, what other benefits do they get out of that? What if they have kids or family, parents, and they're like, well, we'd like to go on a cruise. Do they get a discount rate? Do they just pay taxes? What?
Yeah, so the biggest benefit of being a crew member with family is that you can come back to work. I'm joking. No, families are expensive, right? But as far as benefits go, and I just need to clear something up there as well. The average crew member that's working 6 to 8 months, they get far more than 5 weeks vacation. They're typically taking, and it's personal preference, but typically around like 3 months they'll be taking. But benefits on board. Family can come and cruise at a discounted rate, but it's far from just the port charges. It's a discounted rate. If you have single occupancy accommodation and you have a partner, if you're married or you're in a relationship, you can have your partner come and cruise in your cabin. Now that changes the cost dramatically because that person is not occupying a guest cabin. So really, then the biggest expense is food and port charges. So they get a really favorable rate if they're staying in the crew members' accommodation. But they have to have single occupancy accommodation. You couldn't have a roommate, a bunkmate, and be like, by the way, my gran and Uncle Charlie are coming to visit next week. We're just gonna put some pillows on the floor, so within reason. But we also get a corporate discount. So if a Carnival crew member wanted to take a cruise on a Princess cruise ship just to see what it was like, or a Holland America cruise ship, there is an application that we can make for a one-time yearly benefit to get a discount on one of the sister brands within the corporation. But yeah, as far as perks and privileges when you're not working goes, it's fairly limited, I'll be honest.
How do you guys get the food on before the cruise leaves?
How do we get it on?
Yeah.
This is like a finely choreographed ballet. I promise you. The coordination of the trucks arriving, so the produce comes in, and it's brought in on pallets. There's a team of people driving forklift trucks out on the pier. We arrive, they open the doors. Of course, all of the checks are done. The guests start to get off. While you're getting off, stuff is being loaded on. And it's forklift, boom, in, the team move it, next forklift, boom, in. They move it from like 7, 8 a.m. right through until like 3:30. If you want to see that operation or understand it a little more, there are certain documentaries online that you can look at. I think Mighty Ships did a spot looking at the Carnival Vista when the Vista was new and being launched in Europe, and they take like the camera crews out on the pier and they talk about the timing of the trucks, checking of the produce, looking at there was I think some spoiled pineapples or something, and they needed to send them back. So you're nodding, you've seen it, right? They send the pineapples back, and then they've got to get in touch with a local vendor that's got enough pineapples for 6,400 people for a week. It's intense. It's really intense, and it takes a lot of planning and coordination. But the team do it, and I'm amazed. On top of that, they're also offloading suitcases from the cruise that's exiting and loading on the luggage of the cruise that's about to embark. It's massive. Definitely check it out. I'm sure there'll be stuff on YouTube. There's stuff on Amazon Movies, Amazon Prime Movie, Prime Video. There we go. And Netflix. It's well worth watching. If you like cruising and you're fascinated in the business side of it, check it out. Check it out.
Where is the where have you seen someone sleeping on, like a guest sleeping?
Well, we try to wake sleeping guests up if they're in the public areas. But prime spots for napping tend to be the casino. People have fallen asleep in the casino. People tend to fall asleep in the smoking area. And occasionally in those pods, in those cabanas. But our security team have an obligation to make sure everyone's okay, right? It's not that they don't want you to get the rest that you deserve, but they have to make sure that you're okay. If someone is non-responsive, perhaps they're having a medical emergency and they need assistance. If someone's out in the public area and maybe they've been drinking a lot of apple juice, maybe they'd be more comfortable in their bed. So our security team check, or maybe they're not in their cabin for a reason. So our security team will always check on anybody that is in a public area and asleep, and it will encourage them, if they're able to go back to their cabin, and if there's a reason why they can't, then that would be addressed and supported as well. Yeah, nice question. Hello.
So what are some of the big rules for crew members, like regarding alcohol, drugs, hooking up with guests, being rude to a customer?
You've nailed them all right there. So the big one is drugs and violence, zero tolerance, for obvious reasons. Then alcohol. You know, alcohol is legal around the world as long as you are of a certain age. So as long as you are legally of age to consume alcohol, and you have to be 21, you can drink. But there are certain limitations. 0.08 is the blood alcohol level. 0.04 if you're working, like residual, if you drank the night before and you go to work and you're breathalyzed. If you're under 0.04, you would be okay unless you're in a position where you're operating machinery or you are navigating the ship or in the medical center. But the average crew member, however, personally, I seldom drink unless it's with food. Because my job, I'm on more or less 24-hour call. If there was an emergency, I'm the person that has to communicate with you. And I'm pretty sure you want a level-headed person of a clear disposition. Nobody wants, well, hello everybody, it's just me. I know it's 3 in the morning, but things are heating up. I think we'll be okay. You don't need that, do you? And as much as I try to make light of a very serious situation, I feel like I can purely because I don't put myself in that position. largely because of my obligation to you and the crew, right? It's not just about guests, it's about the crew as well. I'm the voice of the coordination of any emergency response. And emergencies come in different forms. And I just want to be able to communicate clearly. Also, at the age of 36, coming from the UK, where the legal drinking age is 18, I've put my body through far too much already. At this point, it's earned a reprieve. So I try my best. Fraternization with guests is not allowed. So if you've met a crew member and you're madly in love with them, you have to be madly in love with them and go home. Yeah, we're not allowed to enter guest cabins unless we are in a position that requires that. So of course any maintenance crew can enter, cabin stewards can enter, the medical team can enter. But you can't just invite Robbie and I round to be like, hey, we've got a balcony, we've got a suite, come chill out. We're not allowed in that. Because then the line is blurred, right? What were we doing in there? We're not allowed to do that. You gotta go home. But maybe you do fall madly in love with a crew member. It's happened, right? Guests have come, they've met the love of their life, and they've been like, oh, but so people stay in touch with these people that are the love of their life. And then if that's blossoming, then they're invited back as a guest, but it has to be consensual and arranged and declared, because it's not good for business. If the crew some people might be very happy, much happier with their crews if they could do that. But sometimes not so much. So it's got to be a clear, sound judgment choice and, consensual and all that good stuff. So yeah, but that's not allowed. But the crew are allowed to fraternize with the crew. And sometimes the crew do. The crew. And then...
Like at the shows sometimes.
Well, you stop that, you. And then nothing like that happens at the shows. But there are carnival couples, there are like crew marriages, there are carnival babies that have been made around there. So yeah, it's a beautiful community to be a part of.
Yeah,
Robbie's got his hands in the air, he's timing me out.
I kind of had a gross technical question, being an engineer.
Oh, well, I'm not an engineer, so I probably don't know the answer. You can try.
It's essentially a floating city. So what do you guys do with your waste? Both kinds, food and...
Oh, I can shed a little light onto this. I can't give you actual specifics, but we have water separation, black water, grey water. Black water has been polluted with anything like oil and chemicals and stuff that needs to be offloaded. Grey water, I believe, can be treated before being discharged. I could be wrong. Perhaps we did save up the grey water as well. Waste, 6,400 guests and 1,700 crew, that's a lot of poo. And that is held and then offloaded when we're in ports of call. There'll be trucks that come up and deal with that. Food waste, we have biodigesters, which are essentially a giant chest that operates like a stomach with microbes, bacteria, and enzymes, and they break food down to almost a water product, which can be discharged. There's certain foods that the biodigesters can't handle. We refer to them as hard food, but that doesn't mean hard in texture. So like fruit peels, eggshells, pineapple heads, coffee grounds, they're hard food, but chicken bones are regarded as soft foods. So it's not always very clear on what is hard and soft, but the soft foods go in the digester and they create that watery byproduct that can be discharged. We have a full recycling center that will compact cans or anything like that, ready for offloading. We crush glass. We have an incinerator, so we will incinerate certain items. If there's mass amounts of cardboard or paper waste, they'll be bundled. We work with contractors. There are companies in our ports of call that will collect our waste for us and dispose of it, but we do a lot of the hard work with the separation and the preparation, so all they have to do is collect it and then take it off to the specialist facilities, either for recycling, incineration, or regretfully, there are certain items, even in 2023, that just have to go to garbage tips and garbage disposal sites. Does that help? Perfect. Let's keep going, Robbie. We've got time for 2 more questions.
Hi. Another crew question. How does Carnival recruit crew members?
That is a great question. We recruit from all over the world. As you've noticed, the crew are made up of a beautiful, diverse tapestry of nationalities. We have over 60 different nations represented in the crew at any given time. And we have agencies all around the world. Now, you will have noticed in certain departments that there is a higher representation of certain nationalities. That's not Carnival being like, if you want to be a bartender, you have to be from Serbia. Because it sounds like serve beer, and that's what you're going to do, so you will be a bartender. They don't do that. But what they found for the longest time is certain agencies partnered with certain hospitality schools or maritime schools. So the skill sets were readily accessible from those agencies. It wasn't to do with where people were from. Recently, the company have looked and gone, hang on a minute, diversity is important in all its forms and at all of our levels. So they're doing their hardest to diversify in these agencies so people from all around the world can be recruited into different departments. And within the entertainment department, we take touring auditions, Vegas, LA, New York, Memphis, Nashville. We go, oh wow. Our technicians also, I say you're trying to tell me something? Our technicians are hired from all around the United States and the world as well. They take traveling auditions to Australia, to the UK, to Brazil. So we come from all over. Most people are hired either through an agency or through a direct application through jobs.carnival.com or carnivalentertainment.com. And people from the United States, there is an agency, a very popular agency called Cast Our Way. It's a play on words, like a castaway, but it's cast as in to be cast in a show, C-A-S-T, -A-way, as in a way to be cast, which I would always recommend people look at as well. But there's interviews, there are certain requirements dependent on the position. Like I said, entertainment is kind of my area of expertise, so auditions and skills need to be demonstrated. Captains and officers and engineers need to show their certifications, their licenses and qualifications. But we recruit globally. Does that shed a little light on that? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Last but by no means least.
Yes. So you now have a thriving YouTube channel yourself. For some of the people that aren't subscribed to you already, what are some of the unique things that you can show them as far as cruise life goes and things like that they might not be able to see on other cruise type YouTube channels?
I love that. Thank you. From one YouTuber to another, thank you for opening me up to a little promotion. I do have a YouTube channel. It's Lee, Your Cruise Director, L-E-E, Your Cruise Director on YouTube. And I open a window into crew life. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are doing ship tours or reviews or, vlogging the experience. But I believe I can open a window into crew life, and you can see genuine interactions from the people like Robbie. You're like, what's Robbie really like? Or when we go out in port, you can see where I go. Occasionally I'll go out on a shore excursion, and you can check out what these excursions are all about and what they're like. Sometimes I go out on my own, and you can see, what restaurant I've gone to, what did I eat, where did I go, how did I get there, what was the weather like, what's it like when you step off the ship in certain ports of call. So if you want to find out more about cruising or live vicariously through the eyes and the camera of a crew member, Lee, Your Cruise Director on YouTube is the place to be. I've got some exciting stuff coming up as well in my personal life. I'm going to Memphis, to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, because I recently won an award I'm going to be their Ambassador of the Year, which is really cool. Really cool. And that's largely because of the fundraising that we do on board. The celebration has the company record for the most money raised in a single cruise. We raised over $60,000 in one cruise, which is out of this world. So I'm going there for an awards ceremony and gala, and then I'm going on vacation. And people always ask, where do you go as someone who works on a cruise ship? What do you do on vacation? You could follow. No, I'm not going on a cruise, but I've been on one. Weirdly, I went on one, I know. And because your friends tend to be working on cruise ships, so we go visit each other. But this vacation, I'm going to go and see my girlfriend. She works on ships as well, but she's currently on vacation waiting for me to finish this contract. I'll meet her in England, then we're going to go to France because her mom's French. From France, we're going to go to Dubai. I've never been there. If you've never been to Dubai, come with us, I'll be vlogging you. And then from Dubai, I'm going to go to Bali in Indonesia. And the great thing is, a lot of our crew come from Indonesia. So I've been asking the crew, like, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What do I need to eat? The crew, fantastic. One of the servers in the restaurant team was like, my dad is a driver. Here's his WhatsApp. If you need a ride, speak to my dad. Like, how cool is that? It's one of the perks of being crew members. We've got like this network of family all over. So yeah, that's my vacation. I'll take you along for that as well. Oh my word, we've got one more hand up. And it is the cutest hand. Oh, have you got a loud voice?
No.
Oh, thank you, Robbie. We're eating into bingo time, so we'll have to do it quick, but how could I say no?
Can I go with you?
How can you say no? How can you say no?
So, the thing here is that my girlfriend, I've been with her for like 4 years, almost. And I know sometimes when people get married, like, they then no longer an independent party to make decisions. So I'll have to ask the boss.
Good answer.
Good call. Bad call. And I would love for you to come on that vacation, but I think my girlfriend's going to want it to be just the two of us. But maybe next. Your brother is what? Your brother would say you're not allowed to go either. Listen, don't take it personally. It's because you're like a little sister. But we all love you, really. Yeah. Right, friends, it's time for bingo. So, who's here to win some money? Who's here to win a cruise? The louder you are, the luckier you are. So as I make his final introduction of the cruise, you know what to do. Let's hear it for your bingo host. It's Robbie.
Yes. Thanks. We're going to give it up one more time for your amazing cruise director, Lee.